In this section, we will cover spindle inspection, hub reinstallation, bearing adjustment, hubcap installation, and lubrication. First, remove the wear ring if one is present. Do not use a wear ring with SKF Scott seals. The dimensions fit the spindle directly. The seals are unitized and contain a matched running surface with each replacement. Spray the spindle with degreaser. Scrub with a stiff fiber brush, then buff with an emery cloth. Inspect the spindle for flat spots or grooves. Any groove that catches a fingernail should be repaired with epoxy material per the manufacturer's specifications. Once applied, allow epoxy to harden and dry. Buff away excess. Make sure the seal seat is smooth with no burrs or scratches. For slightly worn spindles, the Scott Seal Plus XL may be the best choice. The Scott Seal Plus XL has a wide rubber ID and seals against the spindle even when some wear is present. Also, inspect spindle threads for damage. If damaged, follow the manufacturer's recommendations for repair. After wiping away any excess residue, coat the spindle with a film of the wheel end lubricant for corrosion protection, making sure the area where the bearing and seal ride on the spindle or axle shaft are well coated. Caution: failure to apply lube to the axle shaft can result in corrosion fretting, which may result in difficulty removing the bearing. Now that we've covered spindle inspection, we can install the hub onto the spindle. We will first cover the process for oil bath applications, then move on to the process for semi-fluid grease applications. When working with oil bath applications, lubricate the outer bearing cone and set aside. Do not dip a greased bearing into oil. Doing so can cause premature bearing failure. For best protection against personal injury, consider using a hub support when reinstalling a hub. There are a variety of hub supports in the market today. However, if one is not available, carefully install the hub assembly by hand. Align the hub bore to the center of the spindle, maintaining support for the hub throughout the process. Slide the hub assembly onto the spindle in one smooth motion, taking care not to bump the seal with the spindle. Moving the hub back and forth could damage the seal or move it out of position. Continue to support the hub. For preset hubs only, if not already done during hub reassembly, install the spacer tapered and outward. Install the lubricated outer bearing. To prevent cocking or damage to the seal, never allow the hub to rest on the seal. Replace a seal that has been damaged or cocked. Next, install the inner adjusting nut. Tighten the nut only until it is snug against the bearing cone. Do not use an impact wrench. Now that the hub is resting on the bearings and the nut is in place, remove the support for the hub. Do not remove the hub support until the outer bearing and adjusting nut are installed and secure to prevent damage or cocking of the seal, which could lead to lubricant leakage. Check for free rotation of the bearings. Now we'll cover the process for semi-fluid grease applications. When working with semi-fluid grease applications, pre-grease the outer bearing cone and set aside. Carefully install the hub onto the spindle by hand or with a mechanical hub support. Then remove the fill hole plug if the hub assembly is equipped with one. Fill the hole with room temperature lubricant, 60 degrees Fahrenheit minimum, according to the manufacturer's specifications. For preset LMS hub assemblies, fill to the ConMet specified volumes, which may be found at www.conmet.com. For other types of hub assemblies, begin putting room temperature 60 degrees Fahrenheit minimum semi-fluid grease into the bottom of the hub cavity. Make sure the hub is secure and that there are no air pockets trapped under the grease. If pumping equipment is used, ensure the pump does not aerate the grease. Aeration could result in an underfill condition. On preset hubs, if not already done, install the spacer tapered and outward. Then install the greased outer bearing. Next, spin on the inner spindle nut. Remove the hub support so that the hub is resting on the bearings. Check for free rotation of the bearings. Top off by keeping the nozzle above the spindle. The semi-fluid grease amount should be at 3 o'clock and 9 o'clock. A template used to hold the lubricant in place will make this process easier. Warning: overfilling or underfilling a hub may result in premature component failure, which could lead to wheel end separation. The next step is bearing adjustment. This process is different for preset and manual adjusted hub assemblies. Caution: never use an impact wrench to adjust bearings. For preset hub assemblies, the procedure is the same for all axle types. Steer, however, medium-duty FC axle has different torque values, drive, and trailer. For Preset Plus, please refer to Conmet's website at www.conmet.com. For all axles except FC, torque the inner nut or single nut to 300 foot-pounds. For FC, torque the inner nut to 150 foot-pounds. Next, install the washer. If the dowel pin and washer or tang washer and nut flat are not aligned, remove washer, turn it over, and reinstall. If needed, advance the inner adjusting nut just enough for alignment. Do not back off the spindle nut. Install the outer nut to 200 foot-pounds of torque, 100 foot-pounds for FC axles. Be sure to fully engage any locking device. For bendable type washers only, secure nuts by bending the tang over both nuts. Bend the tang to the closest flat perpendicular to the tang. Conmet does not recommend a one-piece castellated type nut system for use with preset hubs. For manual adjusted or conventional hubs, SKF recommends following TMC recommended practice RP618 for proper wheel bearing adjustment. This procedure only covers double nut systems. You can find this procedure in SKF documents 457975 TFO Wheel End Guide and 457373 Bearing Adjustment Procedure. Also, both can be found at www.vsm.skf.com. For single nuts, refer to the specific manufacturer's instructions. Torque the inner adjusting nut to 200 foot-pounds while rotating the hub assembly. Back off the inner adjusting nut one full turn and rotate the hub assembly. Retorque the inner adjusting nut to 50 foot-pounds while rotating the hub assembly. Final back-off is determined by axle type and threads per inch of the spindle. Refer to the bearing adjustment chart steps 5 and 6. Next, install the washer. If the dowel pin and washer are not aligned, remove washer, turn it over, and reinstall. If needed, loosen, never tighten, the inner adjusting nut just enough for alignment. Install and torque the outer jam nut per the specifications outlined in the wheel bearing adjustment chart. This is determined by nut type and size. Refer to Step 7 in the bearing adjustment chart. Be sure to fully engage the locking device. For bendable type washers, secure nuts by bending the tang over both nuts on the closest flat perpendicular to the tang. Bearing clearance is extremely important. Just a little too much or too little can dramatically affect the life of the wheel end components. Therefore, it is critical to know the end play before the vehicle is put back on the road. Always use a dial indicator to measure end play. Attach the dial indicator magnetic base to the hub or spindle to measure end play. Use the spindle as the base if the hub is aluminum. Adjust so the plunger is against the end and parallel to the spindle. Set the dial indicator to 0 by rotating the gauge face or zero out digital versions. Grasp the hub assembly at 3 o'clock and 9 o'clock positions and push and pull. On duals or with wheels on, it may take 2 people. Read end play as the total indicator movement. End play should be between 1/1000th and 5/1000ths of an inch. If there is no movement, or if end play is greater than 5/1000ths of an inch, the bearing adjustment procedure must be redone. For the drive axle, install a new gasket and insert the drive axle tube. Torque flange nuts to manufacturer's specifications. If the hub is equipped with a fill plug, pour lube into the hub. Check to be sure the differential is at the proper level. You can also lubricate the drive hub by jacking up the opposite side of the axle 8 inches to allow the lube to run down from the differential to the wheel end. Elevate for at least 2 minutes to allow lubricant time to fill the hub. Repeat on the opposing side of the axle. Again, check to be sure the differential is at the proper level. For front and trailer axles, the hub-to-hubcap mating surface should be free of dirt, burrs, or damage. Also, be sure the mating surface, hubcap flange, and gasket are not greased or oiled. Never use sealer, as it could migrate into the hub and damage bearings. Always use a new gasket. For added protection against external contaminants, choose a splash guard upgrade. Like the standard SKF plug, the hard shell splash guard vents when pressure or temperature rises, providing increased protection against extreme road conditions and power washers. Using the plated bolts included in the box, TF Zytel hubcaps only, thread each bolt loosely and then tighten down the bolts uniformly in a star pattern, 12 to 16 foot-pounds. If using an oil bath system, fill the hubcap through the center fill hole with the same type of oil that is being retained in the hub. Allow for the oil to seep through the outer bearing and fill the hub cavity. Continue to add oil until the oil reaches the oil fill line located on the hubcap window. Then reinstall the center fill hubcap plug. You may also fill the hubcap in a similar fashion through the side fill port, but be sure the oil does not go above the center line or weep hole. Continue to add oil until it reaches the oil fill line as indicated on the hubcap. Install the side fill plug and torque to 15 to 25 inch-pounds. Be sure to clean up any spills that would give the appearance of a leaking system. Use SKF TP tamper-proof hubcaps for grease and semi-fluid grease applications to prevent the accidental installation of oil. TP hubcaps vent as low as 2 psi. Next, we will cover wheel nut and lug lock installation. But first, test your knowledge on this section by taking this short quiz.